Experienced B2B marketers understand this phenomenon called dark social, but it's only really appeared in B2B marketing programs in the last 4 to 6 years. And a lot of the outdated measurement strategies used by many, frankly, most marketers miss the dark social phenomenon. So I wanted to take some time to explain to you what dark social is, and most importantly, how to make it visible, how to measure it so you can leverage dark social in your B2B growth journey. So dark social is the tangible business results that come from showing high quality content at scale on display platforms like, say, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram ads, using retargeting. But for dark social specifically, it refers to the results that don't get picked up by those sort of standard automated marketing reports that you may be used to. So when you're showing high quality content, let's say long form videos that are really educational, really polished, really inspiring, or even long form sort of thought leadership content, when you're showing that to a targeted audience at scale, all sorts of results start to appear that aren't just your standard conversions or cost per lead. So let's go through some examples. You'll notice that word of mouth and referrals increase noticeably. You'll see that result in the CRM. Now, of course, with word of mouth, if someone already knows you, they're not going to sign into a landing page. They're going to send you a direct email and say, I think you should talk to this specific person, for example. Or even a referral. If they come through, they might check out the website, they might sign into the contact form, and they'll say so-and-so recommended me. Again, that is outside of the visibility of a marketing report that says this is how many conversions came through the Meta platform, for example. Same thing with branded searches. So when you're running great quality content at scale, you'll notice that people start searching for your brand frequently. There'll be a big uplift in what we call branded searches. Now, an inexperienced Google advertiser will tell you that, yes, that's the result of our Google ads doing a great job, not realizing that it's actually the display advertising that's inspiring people to search for your brand, come through Google as a branded search. Same thing with conversations in boardrooms and sharing content on Slack. If you're targeting the C-suite, for example, and you're really educating them, you're really moving the needle in their thinking, of course they're going to be discussing you in the boardroom. Of course they're going to be sharing your insights with their team. They're going to be sharing your content via links in their Slack, for example. All of this is outside of the visibility of that standard conversions and cost per lead report that you're used to from your marketers. Same thing with current customers and old prospects. So current customers, if they're seeing you on the newsfeed every day, if they're learning from you, if they're developing that brand love from seeing your people, of course they're going to stay longer. Of course they're going to upgrade into your higher value services. Why would they go to your competitors when they're learning from you every single day, right? Same thing with old prospects. Maybe that sales process went stale a few years ago, but if they're seeing you on the newsfeed every day, of course there's going to be a proportion that comes back, re-enters that sales process. The velocity of the sales process is going to increase because everyone's learning so much from your content. So these are all examples of dark social, the results that are tangible, that appear in your CRM, but that are outside the visibility of a standard marketing report. Okay, so let's talk a bit more about the outdated measurement strategies that you might be used to so that you can learn how to tweak them or how to look into them in a bit more depth. All of those results you talked about, word of mouth, referrals, branded searches, conversations in boardrooms, sharing content on Slack, current customers coming back, prospects re-engaging, that sort of thing, those don't appear as people signing in to the landing page. And so they're going to be missed by any sort of automated report, any report that comes out of the platform, any sort of cost per lead reporting, that will all be missed. Even clicks don't necessarily appear. So especially with high value decision makers, they like to lurk on content. High value decision makers love consuming content that they can learn from, especially really long form content. They're very fast readers. They love to consume that, often more than videos. But if they're making a 5 to 7 figure decision, they will sit through a long form video, but they don't like to click. They lurk, and they won't like to click or anything like that because they don't want other people knowing their opinions, and they don't want to be followed up and chased up and all that sort of thing. So often they will just lurk. The other thing is, in B2B, only 5% of the market is actually ready to buy. The significant proportion of the market is already in contract, or it's not an appropriate time for them to take action on your service, that sort of thing. There's only 5% that is actually looking to buy. So when you're only thinking about cost per lead, when you're only marketing for people to convert through a landing page, you are competing for that 5% of the audience that every other inexperienced marketer is also competing for. So you're not actually thinking about that 95% of the audience that can convert at a later day. Now, this becomes a real problem when you aren't aware of the dark social impact, because now you start optimizing away from those results. So if you can't see them as clicks, if you can't see them as leads coming through the landing page, your marketers will often unconsciously optimize away from the dark social results so they can make their reporting feel better, so they can make it look better. But the problem is the dark social results are often the significantly better results for your business. So the higher value decision makers that like to lurk and don't like to click, they're missed if you're optimizing away from dark social. The prospects that are watching your content for 4 months before they sign up for a sales call, they are much more likely to close faster, much more likely to buy more, and much more likely to stay with you for longer. But if you're optimizing only towards the people that are clicking and signing into a landing page, then you're really missing that higher value section of the audience. Okay, so let's talk about how you should measure. So to measure dark social, you need to measure holistically via a CRM, not via automated reporting, not via conversions, not via cost per lead, all that sort of thing. You need to measure via the CRM. All of those results appear in the CRM. You'll see the word of mouth deals coming into the CRM. You'll see branded searches appearing as deals in the CRM. You'll see the conversations in boardrooms, for example, they will appear as a deal coming in eventually. You'll see sales velocity increase, all that sort of thing. That's all measurable via the CRM, but it's not measurable by your automated reporting. So really key, to be able to measure this properly, your sales team needs to ask every discovery call the attribution question. So I can tailor your call, how did you hear about us and what have you seen online? I'll repeat it again. So I can tailor your call, how did you hear about us and what have you seen online? That way, the lead will come in and explain a lot more about what happened in their buyer's journey. So they might say, we've been seeing you on the Facebook feed for the last 3 months. We've been discussing you at the office. We had a call with your competitor. We realized you were probably the better fit. So we decided we'd get to the call. You'll commonly get good responses like that. And so the salesperson can then use that response and use some of the automated attribution data as well to work out, okay, where's the best or where's the most impactful origin of this lead. I realize that's not 100% accurate, but it's significantly more accurate than the automated attribution, the cost per lead, all that sort of thing, which only really thinks about the last click, which is often just Google search or a website. The other thing you can do is measure branded searches as well. So how many people are searching for your brand? When you're running really good B2B content marketing programs, you'll notice that the searches on your specific brand go up noticeably. Those aren't Google advertising leads. Those are coming from your display platform. Okay, so once you're able to measure dark social, now you can go ahead and actively create the impact of dark social from a position of clarity and being able to measure the impact. So let's talk about how to create dark social as an impact. So on the newsfeed, most advertisers, significant proportion are telling the advertising to optimize towards more leads, so more people signing up for the contact form. As we talked about before, higher value decision makers generally don't sign into a lot of contact forms. It's the lower value decision makers that are signing into lots of contact forms. So instead of only optimizing for conversions, you can optimize for video views. So you can tell the advertising platform, I want you to show this long form educational video to the exact right audience at the time when they're likely to watch the most amount of video content possible. Same thing with in-feed content. If you've got long-form social content, you can just tell the platform to just show the content to the decision makers when they're likely to work and read through that content. If you're not asking the advertising platform to inspire a click, if you're not asking the advertising platform to optimize towards conversions, the cost for showing your ads will be significantly cheaper, anywhere from 6 to 10 times cheaper. So you're showing your wisdom to 6 to 10 times more people in that way. And then the other way is retargeting at all layers. So you want to make sure that anyone who's engaged on your brand is being retargeted by really high quality thought leadership. But then once they get to the sales cycle, they should see a different type of thought leadership, different types of videos. They should be seeing the sales team on their feed. And then once they're a customer, again, they should be seeing different types of information. Now they should be seeing things about your other offers or your new features or why you're different from the competition, all that sort of thing. And then as long as you're measuring in the CRM, then you're going to notice the impact of that dark social. And the beautiful thing is that really separates you from the significant proportion of marketing teams that perhaps just don't have the experience to leverage dark social. Okay, so last of all, let's talk about why leveraging dark social is so important. So we talked about only 5% of that B2B market is actually ready to buy, is actively taking discovery calls right now. It is important to capture that demand. It is important to bring them in to your funnel, but you don't want to be only competing for that 5% of the audience with all the other advertisers. You want to also be marketing to that other 95% who may be ready to buy in a year or two now. If you've been educating them for months on the newsfeed, then by the time they're ready to buy, you are in the box seat for that sale. Remember that higher value decision makers lurk. So really important that you're leveraging dark social. So you're speaking to those higher value decision makers that don't necessarily click or don't necessarily like. And then remember that dark social deals are typically the larger deals, are typically the more lucrative deals for you because they've been educated by you for so long. So they're already inspired into your work. They're much more likely to close. They're much more likely to be a better customer for a longer period of time. Hopefully that made it clear. Really key that you're embracing the phenomenon of dark social in your B2B marketing.